Hey, podcast listening people, Connor Doobie here with another live edition for you of the B2B Mentors podcast. I have a great guest for you. I have a real treat, and I'm excited to share with you a couple things very quick as you're jumping in. Make sure you give this a like. It makes all the difference. Drop a comment, share this post, if even not for you, for others, in your network. I guarantee you that there's that one golden nugget that you can get out of this, same as all the other interviews, that could completely change and improve what you're doing with your B2B marketing. Don't forget as well, we are on all your favorite podcast apps, iTunes, Spotify, iHeart, Spreaker, you name it, we're there. Just look up B2B Mentors. Please leave us a 5-star review. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to my friend who I'm finally excited I know we've been talking about this for a while. And I'm really excited to bring you into the fold here for B2B Mentors. But my friends, this is Jennifer Caldwell. She's the Chief Marketing Officer at Aquanomix. Over 25 years of experience with marketing, communications experience. She spent several years in television, media production, where she won 5 Telly Awards and was referenced in a book by the Brookings Institution. Jennifer, welcome. Good to see you.
I'm excited to finally be able to sync our schedules and be on here today with you. I really enjoy your podcast and I'm proud to be part of it.
Me too. I'm excited and I really appreciate it. Give us a little bit of what led you into the world of marketing in the first place, and media and production, and now you're working with a very unique company that we're going to talk about, but give us a little bit of background.
Well, to be quite frank, when I first started, my education started at Penn State University. And I was in the business school, and I actually missed the major selections. And so I ran to talk to my guidance counselor, and he's like, all right, well, just pick something. And I was like, I looked at the list and I was like, I don't know, marketing. And it was the most strategic decision I've made in my life because it fits me perfectly. I love all the aspects of marketing, demand generation, branding, understanding the customers, the communication. So my first strategic decision was very much unstrategic. But since I've begun, exploring different ways to market, helping services and products and software technology, working for the government, it's really been a great career. And I'm fortunate because of these different opportunities that I've been associated with and the people I've met. I have a broad understanding of a lot of marketing topics, where someone who stayed in a larger organization or maybe had a niche doesn't really have a good understanding of all the different areas. So I try to mentor as much as possible and bring my knowledge to the table and share it with others.
I think that's important for us marketers nowadays, right? Is like having kind of a bigger spread of view, right? Like having some consumer experience to be able to apply to B2B, having some sales experience to be able to apply to, just marketing in general, which I think is important. But the planets aligned and the stars aligned, and you just by happenstance ended up here, and you're great at it. I mean, you have a lot of great experience. And so what's your favorite thing about marketing? Why do you enjoy continuing to do it?
I think I simplified it once in an executive session. I like to make things look pretty, which sounds pretty simple, but that's branding 101, consistency, brand, who you are, helping people represent themselves. And I like to help people. So in every marketing role I've had, whether it be internally supporting and mentoring or externally working with customers who actually need what we have to offer, we're helping them. We're providing value. And that to me is very rewarding, to see a look on someone's face when they get a concept or when a deal closes and that person gets recognized at their company for the innovation they've brought to the table, that maybe they weren't even aware they had this issue to deal with in the first place. That's sometimes when you're in an innovative field, some people don't even know what we just basically call have a problem. So they have to be educated on where they could be making some big mistakes in the future if they don't become aware of this now. So that's what I love marketing. It's so dynamic. It's different day to day. And it's really just a people-focused role usually to be in.
It keeps you on your toes. That's for sure.
Yes,
what your first actual application into your career in marketing? Was that the government position or that was something else?
Way back, I started intentionally. So this was strategic with what they call a graphic design firm, marketing agency now. I wanted to understand all the ins and outs of design, costs, markup, and how that operation worked before I went into a corporation, because I can better manage those relationships if I understand the infrastructure of how materials are developed, promotions are put together, trade show booth and events are handled. I just dug deep into that organization for a while. And then once I had a strong concept, that's when I actually made a move from Pennsylvania to North Carolina and took a job with a reseller of thermal transfer ribbons for a manufacturer out of Japan. So it was kind of a weird start, but it was my first step into corporate. I always knew I really wanted to support corporations or small businesses or the government. I didn't really want to be on the agency side. I enjoy working with agencies, and you know that. But for me, the real value comes in moving the needle. And you can do that in an agency, but it's for different customers and it's for a lesser point in time. And when you can dive into a corporation and really get a great team together, you can continuously make progress and development for years to come and see the fruits of your labor. So that's why I like the corporate side of it.
And you like you seem to like enjoy the very complex industries, kind of like me. Like I like very obscure, like the industries behind the industry, the unsexy industries that people may not even consider or think of, but they're vital for just the world we live in, which lands you at Aquanomix, I imagine, right? Talk about Aquanomix a little bit. Like, what do you guys actually do, and how do you fit in there?
Well, it's kind of a great story. It's a very unique opportunity that very rare do people get to be a part of. I was working for a very large organization at the time, but when I was presented with the concept of what this organization does, it really seemed like something the market needed. It's a software that monitors water systems in the building, their efficiency, so you can minimize operational expenditures, capital expenditures, and ultimately you make sure that your building occupants are safe. But what really struck me about it is when the CEO said to me, I got so frustrated because the building, everything around the water systems were getting smarter. They were being able to operate more efficiently, be effective and safe, but the water treatment, water safety, it was the same old thing, point in time, grab some water, analyze it, come back. And so he came up with the way to marry energy and water and actually be able to see in the system real time if things are going wrong with scaling, corrosion, biofilm, all these precursors to some pretty major issues in organizations. And I can tell you, if we interviewed a company who had some type of water system failure, they would say it is an expenditure that is not pretty to have to take to your boss. So,
costly, and potentially just the risk of even harming a guest or someone, on your facility is like all the reason in the world they should definitely go talk to you.
Yes. And so I guess why I loved it so much is what you mentioned, the complexity of it. It is very hard. You have to be determined. You have to have grit to enter a market. You got to find the early adopters, the ones who can afford to take a risk, the ones who feel comfortable taking the risk, and then slowly start that flywheel of everybody else joining in. And that takes a special kind of consistency and commitment. And I just, at this point in my life, it's something I wanted to be a part of. And I'm really excited about the progress we're making.
And your team is great. I've met your CEO. I've met, some folks on your end, and they are really great people. And you can tell just by talking to them, like how passionate they really are about this. It's not just another, oh, we're a fancy tech company. Like there's really a drive and a hunger and a passion behind what they're doing for their clients, which I appreciate.
And the whole team is that committed. And I'm sure you can relate. If you have some members with varying degrees of commitment, it can be very frustrating and hinder progress quite significantly. So this team, they're all passionate, and some days are super fun and other days are even more fun.
In other ways, I get,
yes,
that can mean a lot of different things, but just in you going into this organization as a CMO, what are some of the top things just from your past experiences and for other marketers to really pick up on? Like, what is your framework for success? What's really worked for you? The top 2 or 3 things that you automatically look at when you step into a new organization?
Well, I would say first, know your IT computer guy and your accounting person, because you might need a favor beyond the normal work ticket time. And if you have a good relationship with them, you're set. But with the marketing arena,
Unique and solid. I like it. Finance guy and the IT guy. No one's really brought that up before in the marketing department. In
I
terms of
recommend that to anybody starting new in a company. Find those people, make friends, because you're going to need a favor one day, and they hold the key to that favor. And make it a genuine relationship. I'm not saying just meet people to because you might need them or use them, but you will need them. And how much they like you will play a factor in how quickly they respond. I've seen it time and time again in over 25 years. So I would recommend that to anyone starting in any position in a company. Get to know those people, because they will help you succeed when things go awry, and you'll need them. So when it comes to marketing, and I took this approach when I came here, it's very important to take some time and do research. Time and time again, I see marketing organizations not investing in the research to understand what they're up against. And if you don't invest in anything, invest in that, because how can you create messaging and materials and connect with people if you really aren't sure about what they care about or who are the influencers? So take that time, and also, invest that money if you need to. I really recommend it. It's a thing time and time again I've seen where marketing doesn't want to invest it. I don't know if there's a fear that they won't get the return, but data drives decisions. So you really need to be looking at key things that influence your field. And so you should use that data to do that.
And I think a lot of the time, just to pause you on that real quick, a lot of the time it's leadership too that's not totally sold in on marketing. So they're not willing to put in the budget to do the research.
Right. So it is a top-down approach with leadership in general. You need to make sure that you are providing and showing the values and the culture that you want to convey in the organization and the buy-in. So what I do, because I have had resistance from leaders in the past, a lot of times sales and marketing are seen as opposite sides, and they're really one team. That funnel takes all of them to be interacting together. There was some research from Gartner that said the amount of time a sales executive has in front of the customer is significantly diminished. That doesn't mean they're less important. It means they're more important than ever, because that time in front of them is critical. And it's up to marketing to support them before, during, and after with a consistent message that has the person, when they leave the sales meeting, go, "Oh, I looked on the website. That's what he said. Good, let's make the deal." Or, "Wait, that marketing information on the website and what the salesperson told me doesn't match." And then it becomes "Wait, let's do some more investigating." So it can slow down the sale. So it's really important from a messaging standpoint that you get that right. So yes, definitely having those teams be a cohesive group, having them have joint goals. Don't be like, "Well, I did my part, you did yours." No, it's a cohesive. When we win revenue, everybody wins revenue. And you support it in different ways, and you drive it depending on your role. But it's like the football team or a basketball team. You have to play together, and each position is important to score. So that's how I look at it. And I love our sales team. Like, we are constantly talking to them, constantly talking to clients, so we can make sure what we're producing is of quality. And we want to be consistent with it as well. But quality really, really matters when it comes to the content and the consistency.
Do you actually sit in on sales calls, or just get feedback from them? How's that process look?
So I do go on sales calls as well as current client calls. So I oversee the account management team as well, because customer retention is actually just as important as new business. It actually is less expensive and it's more profitable. And so you need to be consistently in front of the customer. There's also research there. You can provide everything your contract says and still not earn rights to get more business. If you're not consistently showing your client the value and the positive impact that what you're providing the business is giving them, then you haven't earned the right to be considered for growth. You only earn the right to get the business they awarded you. And it doesn't matter what scenario you're in, the statistics set it consistently across the board. If you want to grow business with a current client and be solid with your retention, you need to be showing the value you bring to them.
I think that's a very important point. I mean, we live in such a flash in the pan kind of world. Long-term relationships are everything, and marketers really is up to you marketers to help support that, is help to support that, over delivering a value to your clients. Like, what are you doing to educate your clients, right? If they're not learning from you guys, which is a marketing function, and you're just worried about purely just leads and marketing for leads, well, you're missing out on, opportunities there to build deeper relationships and also maybe potential upsells down the road.
Yes. So we always stay in front of the customer and listen to what they value. And then we make sure we show them how we are providing that value and helping them move forward in the organization. It's really a key part of the funnel that often gets overlooked with the traditional sales marketing funnel. After the close, it opens back up again. And there's more marketing to be done. It doesn't end at the close with the client. So we are very intentional with that. Very, very intentional with our current clients and making sure we are communicating with them effectively.
How do you like to go about the research side that you mentioned? Like, where do you typically start when it comes to market research, especially for a company like Aquanomix?
Well, it kind of depends on the current functionality and maturity of the departments. But first and foremost, I want to go to the clients, and I don't want to send a mass survey. I want to find at least a representative sample of clients that I can have a conversation with, because I want to make sure that the question is asked in a way that it's interpreted correctly. And sometimes without tone and voice or further explanation, they might answer in a way that isn't what they truly feel. So being, that face-to-face interaction, even if it's like this over the computer, I always start with that. I really believe in the proactive in-person talk. So that's how I start with the research, but we have this lovely world of online searching. So I look for credible sources that can have information about the markets that we're going after. Some of those things you have to pay for, but others are absolutely free and it's current data, but you have to look for it and you got to compile it and bring it together. And as a group, make a joint decision how you're going to focus on those things and what you think you can obtain from the market you've decided to pursue.
Yeah, you got to do the work, got to do the digging, which was something we had also talked about recently in terms of, as a marketer, you may not be getting all the tools just handed to you when you step into a company. Like, you really have to be like a research expert as well as a marketing expert,
Right.
and continuously improving your education. How do you go about that? Like, what do you do to like continuously self-educate generally?
Yes. So, I recently got my mini digital marketing MBA from Rutgers because, my degree is from a few years ago and marketing's changed quite a bit. So I just wanted it to kind of enhance the experience that I've had to show the people that I'm working with that I'm knowledgeable with today's marketing techniques, because it's always growing. So what I do is I look at what we're planning to do in the different areas and just determine an area of marketing that I want to find some type of education and training to become better. And I do that with my staff too. The objectives for the year always include some type of training, and oftentimes additional training gets added because you have to be very intentional about that. Nothing beats hands-on experience, but to have different tools and the latest information from different training classes available to you will help you respond in real time more effectively.
And then you mentioned as well on the vendor side, which was something I really appreciated about you when we just, first started getting to know each other last year, is first off, you've been on the other side, you've been in the agency world, and you've also had a lot of experience managing and working with other vendors. So a lot of marketers too, they try to take on everything themselves, and it ends up pulling them away from focusing on the bigger picture of what they need to be doing that's higher impact. What is it that makes a successful vendor relationship in your mind? What do you typically look for in that?
Well, when I'm making decisions of whether I want to add staff or hire vendors, I look at where we're at, our budget, the amount of work that needs to be done, and then, what strengths and weaknesses we have in the company. So what I look for in a vendor is just honesty and upfront. And I want to form a relationship where if you provide me what you say you're going to provide me, I make sure you get paid on time. You know what I mean? And that's a big deal. You would be surprised how many people don't think about the vendor and that payment, but it is always on my mind, because if my vendor's delivering for me, I need to do my part as well. But I also try to be very prepared. So I recommend to all marketers, especially if you're early on, understand the process and be prepared when you go to the vendor, because time with the vendor is money. So you can spend as much time as you want, but you're going to spend more money. So do your part. You have a vendor, but you have a commitment to provide certain data and information to them, get your revisions back efficiently, stick to the 1-2 revision deal that you came up with, if that's what it is. So be really intentional so that you don't waste money and you get the results that you were hoping for when you made that connection and partnership in the first place.
And from firsthand experience, I can say I agree with that. Jennifer is great at getting paid on, paying on time and just being amazing, by the way. And so it's like, it's refreshing, because there is a lot of people that take advantage of a vendor relationship, or just don't appreciate it, or maybe just don't even really understand it. And it's a skill set. Like, it is another skill set that marketers have to understand, especially in the world we live in, where there's a lot of different vendors out there to do a lot of different stuff with nowadays.
Yeah.
It's overwhelm, probably.
Well, let's use Active Blogs as an example. How did that relationship start? Well, I was still doing some assessments with the organization, trying to figure out how I can produce mass amounts of content to get, put our position out there as a thought leader. We have a lot of information in here, but getting it written is just very time consuming. So looking at all the responsibilities I just happened to check an email on LinkedIn. I can't tell you how many calls, how many emails I get, but whatever was in the subject line, it was my pain point at that moment. And I was like, okay, I'm calling them. I called a couple other people too, but I'll tell you what won me is the fact that I told you a little bit about myself, but then you thoroughly explained what you did and how it was going to help me. And you followed up, and it was easy, and your contracts were easy to understand, and you were willing to meet me halfway. Because when I get into negotiations, sometimes, I don't want a long-term commitment. Sometimes people say I'm a commitment phobe, but if you're performing, I'll pay you. If I'm doing my part, I'll stay a client of yours. But signing that contract for 5 years until we've kind of proven our relationship. And I love that you had that flexibility and you were confident enough of what you had to offer that you were willing to go that route, which showed me that I was making a good decision, because I knew I was going to get value. And I absolutely have. I really am so glad that I made that decision. You're one of my favorite vendors, maybe my favorite. I don't want to make my
go with favorite. We'll take the award of favorite. That's fine.
And
we won't tell anybody else you've worked with before. We'll just keep this on the DL. But
thank you. But it's easy for me to take the work you've done, analyze what's going on, make decisions on what we're going to do next, but also show the value to the leadership team that this investment is bringing us. So thank you for that. Thank you for delivering and even going above and beyond a lot of times to help us get where we need to be as an organization. It's really gives me peace of mind.
I really appreciate that. That's awesome. And that's, why I'm so passionate about having these discussions. It's like, I know there's been a lot of bad practice out there, and many, many marketers have been through a lot of bad experiences. And it's like, okay, you've been through some bad dates in the past. Does that mean you're never going to get married or never going to have a long-term relationship? So I appreciate that. But on that note too, Jennifer, anything else, what's top of mind for you before we wrap up here that you want to share or might be actionable or implementable? I think that's a word. Pretty sure.
Yeah, well, if not, we should try.
Implementable. I think that's it. I think I've locked it in. That's it. That's probably the word. For other marketers, just in wrapping up here.
Well, I guess one thing I would say is use data to help support what you're asking for. We're at a time now where we are access to more data than we ever had as marketers. And it can really help you get what you need from leadership, because sometimes certain leaders don't buy into marketing. They know they need it, they don't know why, and no one's ever really been able to fully explain it. So use that data to help get you what you need to be successful. And then, anytime if anyone wants to reach out to me, Connor, you have my information if you want to put it with the podcast. I'm happy to answer questions about marketing. I've been doing it for a long time, and I really do enjoy helping other people. So you can reach out with any questions, and I'll do my best to tell you about my experience, and then you can take it from there.
And some people just say that. Jennifer really means it. I mean, she truly is a mentor. Like, she'll take you under her wing. She'll, help you out. And she's doing it already. Like, she is mentoring young marketers, which is important. You're a practitioner, and there's a new generation that's coming up into this world that has to be able to plug into a sophisticated company like Aquanomix and make it work.
Exactly.
And one last thing you caught my attention on this before we wrap up is the dark funnel. What's your perspective on the dark funnel and in those areas of marketing that are hard, and the world we live in, right? We're content. And for a lot of other leadership and marketers, it's hard to sell that to leadership because they don't know how to measure success, because it's hard when you may have someone following you on social media. They see your content going out. They may never like it. They may never comment on it, but they're watching you and they're learning. And then when time, money, opportunity, all those things align, they decide to reach out to your company. So how do you sell your company on that, where the data is a little more fuzzy on what the actual direct ROI is?
Well, it's funny you say that, because you kind of have to get creative. And I call some of that fuzziness that brand awareness. People are looking at you, they're trying to decide if you're trustworthy, but you have no way to prove that because it's not coming through necessarily on your statistics. So what I try to do is I try to find general awareness statistics around marketing in general, maybe specific to your business or market. Look at the average deal life cycle time for sales. Use that to support the amount of time you need to show impact. It is a gray area still for us, but we all do it. We're all out there looking at different things that are put in front of us. And then we're also really good at removing all the noise around us now as well, which is another whole problem we could get into for marketers. But find a statistic somehow, whether it be from an accredited institution that talks about the importance of brand awareness and the impact it can make, so you can support, although you don't have data, this is what overall data says. It can be as simple as, well, I need at least 7 touches for them to retain us, and that's going to take time. But I think coupling that with your sales cycle, because they usually complement each other well. If it's a long sales cycle, the decision-making process, they need a lot more consistent content. If you're buying chewing gum, that 30-second commercial might work. I really just encourage you to find some way to ground what you want to the person that you're trying to get it from.
Yeah, because it's just amazing. I have these conversations every week, is like, well, our leadership doesn't really understand why we need to post on our LinkedIn page or whatever. It's like, well, are you guys doing trade shows? Are you doing advertising? Are you doing direct outreach campaigns? I guarantee you those people are coming and they're looking at your website. They're looking at your social media. They're checking you out. If you have nothing there to highlight why you over anybody else, then you're missing that opportunity, although it's not perfectly measurable all the time.
Right.
So,
and even us, we are selling software technically, but to the customer, we're selling a value that they need, whether it be peace of mind, so they don't have to worry about their system, that they actually have data to prove that they're performing, but we're providing value ultimately with the software to the organizations.
Absolutely. Jennifer, I appreciate you. So grateful for you and just our, relationship and our friendship and just everything you do for us. I'm so glad we got to get this podcast together. And what is the best way for people to find you, follow you, get into contact with you?
You can find me on LinkedIn. It's Jennifer Caldwell, which is a pretty basic name, but the company is Aquanomix. The website is aquanomix.com. My email should be on there as well. Email me, connect with me, and follow each other. And like I said, send your questions on through, and and I'll be happy to help you any way I can.
Awesome. Jennifer, appreciate you. Stick around for one quick second here while we wrap up here, guys. And don't forget to share this out. Okay. I guarantee you there's something of value that you can get from this, and in other people in your network can also get from this. And by the way, if you want a chance to connect, get mentorship, build relationships with top marketers, CMOs, business development leaders, and executives like Jennifer, come to our free B2B Mentors Marketing Mastermind. It's completely free to you. We run it every other Thursday. Our next session, I believe, is on the 7th. So April 7th, activeblogs.com/live event, activeblogs.com/live event. Much love to you guys. Make it great. And I'll see you on the other side.